I love eating and I love cooking, but like you, I always feel I'm in a hurry and it can be hard trying to fit everything in. Children, work, family, everything else life throws at you. And I am not prepared to sacrifice a single meal. But I got the answer. In a word, it's express. When you're tired and up against it, the last thing you might think you want after a long working day is to have people over for supper. But you know, in the middle of the week, it can be a real boost to be surrounded by your friends. So I think the trick is this: just make food that's simple and above all fast, so that you send out a relaxing vibe to your guests and to the cook. For midweek comfort, the classics get an express makeover. So there's Cocoa Riesling, followed by Jumbleberry Crumble. For my girlfriends, I've got an elegant, effortless crab and avocado salad, and then there's the almost instant dinner I make when I've hardly got time to take my coat off. It's lemon and thyme scented steak, followed by Eton mess, and it's fabulous. I want to banish anxiety in the kitchen, cook the express way, and I promise you, you will not be waking up at 4 in the morning in a panic because you've got people coming over for supper. Bagged, chopped, peeled, cubed, infused, diced. These are the secrets that enable you to cook the classics fast. And the classics are exactly what you need for a midweek supper party after a long day at work. Take every shortcut you can. Right, that's everything. Cocoa Riesling and Jumbleberry Crumble get my makeover for an express dinner party. Then it's the children to bed, and then relaxation and jubilation. This is for my Cocoa Riesling, which is a simplified, streamlined version of a classic coq au vin. So I'm going to heat on the casserole. I start with some garlic oil, 2 tablespoons. This means you just don't have to do any peeling, chopping, mincing, crushing. My next lazy step is 150 grams of lardons go in this. And soon all their gorgeous saltiness will meld with the garlicky oil. And this, along with a leek, the onion's skinnier cousin, will give the foundation for this. Now this is a step I have to say I should be embarrassed about, and that's that I buy leeks that are ready washed and trimmed. My mother would be so ashamed. I mean, I know peeling and chopping an onion isn't hard, but it can feel tiring at times. These gorgeous pale green discs tumble in with the bacon. I love pink and green together, such a beautiful combination. Now this next step, it's not any simpler, but just speeds everything up. And that's instead of using a whole chicken that's been jointed, I tumble in 12 boned, skinned chicken thighs. Don't need to sear the meat actually, so that's even easier. Everyone always goes on about chicken breast, but I think the brown meat is so much better for flavour. Add 3 bay leaves, and I really can't make that any easier than it is. But what I can make easier is that instead of getting little mushrooms that you have to peel and then slice, I get oyster mushrooms, 300 grams of oyster mushrooms, and just tear them in. I love food like this, old-fashioned, that just makes people smell the welcome as they come in. And I have to say, if I had been chopping and stirring and stewing for 3 hours, I would not be feeling welcoming. That's 300 grams of oyster mushrooms. And I know this dish does look pretty piled up now, but it isn't too full because the mushrooms do cook down. I'm going to give a little bit of a stir, not that it's really necessary. And then add a whole bottle of Riesling. This dish is from the Alsace, and Riesling is from the Alsace. Has a glorious citrusy, honeyed tang. Great favourite in the 70s. Some salt, not too much because remember there's bacon here. Bit of turbocharged pepper. This casserole is simplified not just in terms of what you have to do, it's really pared down to its beautiful basics. And now all I need to do is let this come to a bubble, turn it down and then leave it with the lid on to simmer for about 40 minutes. And so that I don't have all that hassle with potatoes, I'm going to do what they do in Alsace and just cook some noodles, toss them with a bit of butter, and they will soak up all those gorgeous juices. So here we are, it's bubbling now. I just have to put the lid on, low simmer, no effort. If you want to get food on the table fast, it helps to think ahead. Now, obviously a freezer can be used to stash entire meals, but I think it's really helpful just to keep key components. Breadcrumbs, escalopes, anyone? Puff pastry, any number of delicious things. Berries, any number, again, of delicious things. Look how beautiful. My favourite usage for these babies is my Jumblebee crumble. And of course, for a crumble, you need the topping already there. And it's so easy to make, a lifesaver. I put 200 grams of plain flour into a bowl and I add a teaspoon of baking powder. It's not normal to do that, but I think it gives the crumble a little more lightness. Next, I add 100 grams of cold unsalted butter cut into small dice, and I rub the flour and butter together. And by that I mean I press the flour and butter together in my hands using my forefinger and my middle finger and pressing them in a light fluttering motion against the pads of my thumb. I carry on like that until I've got a sandy rubble. It doesn't take very long. Finally, I spoon 6 tablespoons of demerara, lovely crunchy demerara sugar, into this mixture, and that's my crumble topping made. I call this Jumblebee crumble because in old-fashioned English cooking, when they made jams out of whatever's left in the hedgerows, they just called it Jumblebee jam, and I love the sound of it. So beautiful. Now you can see that these berries are quite mounded up, and it's because they're frozen and they will sink a little as they cook, giving off their water. And it's because of that we need 2 teaspoons of corn flour. In other words, I want to make a fruit sauce out of the water, not just running liquid, glorious and red though it is. Corn flour will absorb faster and it won't give you the floury taste that regular flour will. Everyone tells you you've got to make all this into a paste. You don't. And I want 4 teaspoons of vanilla sugar. By that I mean it's sugar with some vanilla pods in, but if you don't have that, just use ordinary sugar and then a bit of vanilla from a bottle. 4 teaspoons isn't much, but I think it's really important that the fruit has a tart edge to it. After all, the crumble topping is sweet. And there's going to be cream to help everything along later. Now mix this together a bit. I've used this copper tartare dish of mine just because it was closest to hand, to be frank, but you can use any pie dish you want or have, and use any fruit you want. I mean, I could go on. It's just that I think if you're going for crumble, you want something old-fashioned and comforting. So I don't want strange new exotic fruits. I want these berries. Now a little strewing of the crumble mix. Beautiful pale yellow against all the different reds of the berries. Now, you can and probably should break up any larger clumps, but leave a good amount of clumpage here, because if it's all too fine and sandy, it just won't have the right nubbliness that crumble needs. You can see a few berries peeking out around the edge, but I love it when, as it cooks, the red juices come up a bit and flood the edges of the crumble. To the oven. As I serve each person their bowl of cocker Riesling, I like to scatter over some aniseedy dill. It makes everything look smell and taste perfect. I love that sudden hit of grassy green. Here we are. I hope you're hungry.
Yes, we are. We're starving.
Then I will ladle over. Can I deal you?
Yes, please. Sorry.
You know what?
Thank you.
This is absolutely brilliant. Thank
Don't
you,
be
Nigella.
polite. Okay, guys. Hope you've got some room left.
Yes, yes, yes.
That kind of looks a bit messy, but you know I'm not a neat person.
So you're getting jealous, aren't you, Richard?
Ken, you have a neat and hungry look.
I'm the greedy one on the table.
Come on, I'm going to give you this last spoonful.
He hasn't finished his first one.
That's great.
He has. There was a pattern on this bowl when I brought it out. And this should have been just yours, really.
Absolutely, yes.
You know, but a person I don't like to play the favourites game, but you know, if I had to choose my numero uno after work wonder, I think it would have to be my crab and avocado salad with a Japanese dressing. It's pretty well instant to make, and it ensures a room full of gleeful girlfriends.
A nice way after work.
I'm going to leave them upstairs because, frankly, I've got so little to do. It's hardly worth unseating them. Just a light bit of chopping and stirring. Got some crab, some salad leaves. Frankly, there's not that much to do, just a couple of things. I've got about 400 grams of crab here. You just get it ready cooked from supermarkets. It's ease itself. I'm going to souse the crab with my Japanese dressing. Well, I call it Japanese just because I use my Japanese ingredients. Starting off with 4 tablespoons or 60 mils, whatever's easier for you, of mirin. And that's kind of sweet rice wine. And to counter the sweetness and to add a little tang, I want 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar. And now a fat squirt of wasabi, which is sort of horseradishy mustard, very hot, gloriously green. A teaspoon of coarse salt, although if you're using table salt, just half a teaspoon will do. Finally, a few drops of aromatic sesame oil, lid on, and then shake so that everything mixes. And pour most of this on. I leave a few drops back for the leaves later. And on top of that, I want some fresh red chilli. Now, in fact, you could use dried, but I like to add a little fresh note. Anyway, I'm not going to be too fastidious about the way I de-seed, but I want to try and chop these as finely as possible, just because that way they will be dispersed more exuberantly. Well, they could be chopped a bit more finely, but I'm stopping now. In they go. Stir them to mix. Beautiful. And now, the leafage. I like rocket here because I adore the pepperiness against the sweetness of the mirin in the dressing, but really, whatever leaves you want is fine by me. And I've saved up a bit of dressing. Sprinkle over, not too much. I am, however, going to add some fresh lime. I know there's rice vinegar there, but I want a bit more astringency in the leaves. It's a fabulous match with the sweetness of the crab meat. And now, pile up the salad quite generously. I want a good heaping of rocket. So I'm going to use a couple of handfuls per plate. And now, this is a really important touch. I think few things go as well with crab meat as avocado. And I have my own almost patented method for gouging out bits of the flesh. Use a small teaspoon, rounded one. And look, beautiful curls. And I adore that two-tone green. So now for the crab. I know that I normally am very disparaging about chefiness, but just to show I am broad-minded, I'm going in for a little chefy moment of my own. So using any old metal small cup, or you could use a ramekin, squidge the crab meat in, and then hope that as you turn it out, you've got this rather beautiful central column. I feel a knock-knock joke coming on. One more touch, just a snip of chives, just a few. I want to snip some over the top. Ah, heavenly. Okay, girlies.
Oh, fantastic. Check it out.
Thank you, Lonnie. Not quite sure the real knife.
This is yummy.
Gets
What's
all
this
your
dressing?
greenness. It's a kind of Japanesey type of fare.
It's really good. Could eat rocket forever.
You might get a bit bored.
Just because it's a work day doesn't mean dinner can't be dazzling. I just like to do it all fast. And how's this for a menu? Lemon thyme steak, followed by mounds of eaten mess. And the thing is, although I don't generally do a starter, I've been inspired by the wonderful Anna Del Conte for some crostini. Follow me. These actually are the crostini I first made ever. They're chicken liver crostini, and they are delicious, but not the work of moments. And as you can see, the ingredients list is as long as the recipe. So this is what I do. I allow myself to be inspired by Anna, but I just bring my own lazy spin to the business, and I make these green pea and avocado crostini. And this is how easy these crostini are. Start with an avocado, and I know that avocados do feature quite a lot in my everyday repertoire, but it makes sense. You don't have to cook them, and they're instant deliciousness. So scrape out the soft flesh. I like these Hassa avocados, the way that it really scrapes. And I'm not going to start apologising, but I am going to let you know that I am using marrow fat peas in my green pea hummus. Lots of salt and sugar, why aren't they nice? If the thought appalls you, then just use those slightly posher French peas that come in cans or bottles. Now, the juice of a whole lime, but obviously it's up to you. You know, if you leave half, it'll just dry up. Some garlic, not too much, probably about half a clove. And because I'm not going to have the processor on for very long, it's better to mince it in. This is not very hard work. I stop at the point at which I'm about to grate my fingers. In it goes. Some salt. And a couple of pulses. Heavenly. Still got a bit of nubbliness. Traditionally, crostini are made on bits of bread that are lightly brushed with oil and then toasted. But I keep things simple by buying these little pumpernickel rounds. And then all I do is spread each little morsel with a piling of the green pea and avocado hummus and arrange on the platter of your choice. I come bearing offerings. I know, it is inevitably, aren't they?
I admit they are seriously Moorish.
Okay, I'm going to be 2 minutes. I'm just going to go and fiddle about with my steak. I love a bit of alfresco cooking, and I have to say, if you're having a barbie party, nothing can match up to my steak slice with lemon and thyme. This is the steak. Now I'll get on with the lemon and thyme. I call it a post hoc marinade because, rather bizarrely, I admit, I marinade the steak after it's been grilled. The lemon element is provided by the zest and juice of half a good-sized lemon, and just smelling the air as I zest is fabulously fragrant. It's such an easy recipe and so fast because I just grill the steak for about 4 minutes aside, and then I put it in this fragrant bath here for about another 4 minutes aside, and then slice very thinly. And the other great thing about this is I use just one big steak. I mean, it weighs about 750 grams, but that's not really the point. Just think of it as about 2.5 centimetres thick. It's one big rump slice. You need to get the thyme. How I love this herb. Got a decent sized bunch. Just strip the leaves off, although a few stalks won't do any harm. A couple of cloves of garlic, just bruised. Some olive oil, really good olive oil. You'll taste every bit of it. Quite a lot here. I want it to come about halfway up the steak as it sits. Bit of salt, bit of pepper, and I'll be ready to rejoin those reprobates upstairs. And don't worry if you don't have a barbecue, because frankly, there are 364 days a year I cook this steak on a griddle on the stove here. Okay, ready or not, here I come. Okay, a few minutes and you've got your steak. You might need some more wine. I love a desperate downsized portion, and the great thing about a steak like this is it's really a few minutes each side, and then I've got 6 people fed. This is going to be so fabulous. I'm going to take this off in a minute because I like my meat, well, not quite mooing, but certainly very rare. Here we go. All this needs is a short, fragrant soak on the other side, and we are so good to go. Going right now. Okay, everyone, sit down, help yourselves to salad. I'm going to carve in a very, very amateurish fashion.
Yes, right, if you do.
So what have we got here? Rare, medium rare, what is it?
I think it's nothing a good vet couldn't pull round. Does anyone else want some?
How do you know when it's possible?
I'm
so lovely.
In honour of your sweet tooth, I'm going to rustle you up a special pudding. Won't take me long. Keep everyone chatting for me. There's one thing better than strawberries and cream. It's eaten mess. And this is the thing, really. When food is simple, it can be spectacular. And you can really get this done in a matter of moments. Obviously, you don't want to be chopping up strawberries, and I've got 750 grams of strawberries here. On top of the chopped berries, 3 teaspoons of sugar. Sprinkle it over. And the same amount, about 3 teaspoons, of sour sweet pomegranate juice. You could get the same effect by using balsamic vinegar. The Italians do that. Bit of a moosh about to encourage the strawberries to yield their gorgeous juices. The second major ingredient in eaten mess is cream. 750 mils. And I'll whap this on pretty high so it whips up, and I can just go and get the glasses. I want the cream to be a softly aerated mass. I don't want it beaten until it's stiff. This is perfect. Now, strawberries and cream, we know, is a divine pairing, but I think you can make it even better, and that's by crumbling in some meringue. I use 4 store-bought meringues. And I don't know if this is true, but this is called Eton mess, apparently, because schoolboys at Eton used to mush up everything together in their pudding, like, you know, some, I suppose, meringues, strawberries, cream. Don't care if it's true, it tastes good. And now, I'm going to leave a bit of strawberry mixture behind for embellishment later, but most of this can go in. And now gently mix these 3 ingredients together, so you've got the white of the cream, the juicy red of the strawberry, and little pink rivulets rippling through. I mean, this is a dessert of dreams, and it's just something you can whip up in the middle of the week without really giving any thought beforehand. That's what I love about it. Always feels like a treat. Into each glass, a luscious pile. You could serve this in one big bowl, but I rather love the way it looks piled up in these champagne saucers, or use martini glasses. I adore the way it comes bulging out over the rims. And now a brazen blush on each pale cheek to topple out these juicy diced berries. They look lit up from within. And let some of the red juices dribble down the sides. Right, I'm going to take the first 2 out, and I bet you they won't even have noticed I've gone. Okay, girls, you first. Thank you. There's some spoons in there.
Good. It's crunchy. Is there sugar in here?
Meringue.
Ah.
Quite nice in the way.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
I like the way I was saying, oh, I don't really like it.